Hi, David. Hi. So we've got Peter here. All right. You're on speaker.
Can you put it on speaker your end as well?
Can I be on speaker my end? Do you know how to do it? Hold on a minute.
Let's see if we've got a... I think that's it.
Is that on speaker? No, I think you cut him off.
Oh,
Hold on.
oh, there you go.
Yes? Are you on speaker now?
Yes, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Well, Peter's here, and he's interviewed me quite a bit on Chew Magna. I've come up with stories that I can remember. I did put in about our fantastic exchange on the phone numbers. But he's longing to hear some of the stories, and obviously you can remember a bit more than me. But he's also very interested to know how we founded the village and everybody there and that sort of feeling. So it'd be really good if you could sort of, Peter will ask you questions, and then obviously I'll be here as well.
Okay, great.
Hi, David. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Peter. Yes, I can.
It's lovely to be able to talk to you. No, I'm interested because you're that bit older. What are your first memories of being at the Beeches and what it was like to grow up in Chew Magna?
It was lovely growing up there. It was a small, in those days, a small, little village. Everybody knew everybody else. And growing up, first memories aren't that good. I remember sort of where our bedroom was. I think it was on the right-hand side in the front of the Beeches. And I shared the bedroom, I think, with Chris.
Where was Martin?
I don't know where Martin was.
I remember that sort of little chute up to the top floor, which terrified me.
And me.
Yeah.
We never went upstairs because I think there were some old bedsteads up there. And it was very dusty and creaky and a bit scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you shut me in there once, or Martin did.
Well, it's probably Martin.
Did you have fun with your brothers? What sort of things did you get up to?
Yeah.
Smoking cigars in the garden. My dad had a cigar box.
Yeah.
And he put numbers on it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And what Martin did was to take one, rub the 10 out, and put 9.
I didn't know that one.
Oh, yeah. And there was a laurel bush behind one of the beeches at the top of the lawn that I think we used to go in and smoke.
Yeah.
And pass the cigar around.
Yes. I told him briefly about the lawnmower who got away.
Oh, we had an old rotor scythe that ran away from Dad. The clutch slipped, and it mowed down all the tulips and everything else. In the back garden, there was a slope, a big slope going down to the house. And one thing I remember about that, my Uncle Robert, I think it was, pushed me. I was on a bike at the top, and he just pushed me down. And that's where I learned to ride a bike. Had to pedal like hell to stay up. But I did.
Well done. At the time you started me off on the tin bath and went in for lunch and left me riding around the garden, and I had to fall off in the end because I couldn't stop. In the roses, I remember.
I think so, yes. I think in those days talking food was more important to me, so...
And what do you remember about Chew Magna itself? We're having a bit of a debate as to when the co-op it used to be a hotel. It used to have a third story. Do you remember it ever being like that?
The Co-op a hotel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
No,
talking.
I don't remember that.
No.
We're talking about the early 40s. It may have lost its third story during the war. I
Yeah.
don't know, but
I remember Dad didn't like us shopping there, and I thought it was the Co-op. I know Dad didn't like us watching ITV because of the adverts, but I'm sure there was a shop in Chew Magna he didn't want us to shop in.
Well, the only other store there was Amor's,
Yeah.
which was opposite the butcher.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Amor's was a great store. It sold everything.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a Co-op.
No.
I mean, I remember Mum sending Chris down to get some butter or something. And Chris came back 45 minutes later saying it's only a 5-minute walk. He didn't buy the butter, but he bought something he wanted. But Amor's, I remember, they were a wonderful store.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what other shops were there then?
Well, there was the post office on the High Walk.
Yeah.
There was a knitting shop, I think.
Yeah.
If you went, let's say you were going towards the cricket ground,
Yeah.
there was a promontory coming out with a store in the middle, in the front of it.
that was a small shop that was famous for its ice cream.
Ah.
Yeah, it was a candy store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sold sweets.
Yeah.
Who ran that? Can you remember anyone who was in there?
I can't remember who ran that.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember the Walker's shop, which was right up at the other end of the village, up at the top?
Yeah, between us
Yeah.
and the petrol station.
Yeah.
Walkers, yes.
Yeah. That's right.
I'm sure it was. Yeah.
David and Sheila Walker ran that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you went further up, there was the place on the right-hand side where they serviced buses and everything.
Yeah, that's right.
And opposite them, there was a lady who lived by herself who had a tennis court in her front garden. Mrs. Bowden,
That's right.
she had a tennis court in her front. Opposite them were the Stanley Clarks.
Yes, that's right.
Ah.
And if you went past the Stanley Clarks, turn right down the hill, you went down to the...
Convent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Sacred
opposite
Heart.
the convent, there was a guy lived there who was head of the BBC in the southwest.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
And also living down there was the guy who built the Chew Valley Lakes.
Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
Went up the hill from them, you came to Lady Wills's house.
Yeah, that's right. Lady Wells. Yeah.
And then further up that, you had Mrs. Gibson on the left. And then you came up at the top of Chew Hill.
Yeah. Well remembered.
And how did you find Chew Magna as a young child, as a boy growing up?
Well, I went off to prep school at
Nine.
in
Eight.
57. So I was only 8.
Yeah, you're very young.
How do you remember any village events, big fetes, anything like that?
I don't think we had any fates, did we, Dorky?
We did. And you remember Mum painting all those mugs and egg cups for everybody in the village?
God, yes.
Yeah.
I've totally forgotten that.
Yeah. I mean, Mum seemed to be on every committee, didn't she? And I was saying that a lot of dinner parties went on and a lot of kids' parties went on.
Yeah.
I remember Mum being furious with me. I hadn't told Peter that, but we had a party in
The old schoolroom.
yeah, because Mum had bought me some lovely silver shoes and I walked across the green, and apparently I managed to stand in a dog poo on the way in because I hadn't seen. And Mum was furious because she just bought me these lovely silver shoes. Do you remember that? Oh, I remember that. And I remember the sheep I took the sheep out of the crib or the doll and said, "That's mine," at the nativity play.
Yes.
And you remember where the three kings came from?
Out of the loo in the corner.
So we did have all those. Yeah. We did have all the nativity plays and everything going on. So, yeah, we did.
David, I didn't talk much about your school, your primary school, the two Miss Woods. Can you remember much about that? And Dorcas, you can talk about that as well.
Yes. You remember I fell in the river? She jumped in after me and her wig floated down the river and her skirts were all floating out. By the time she got in, I got out. Then she put me to bed in her vest.
Yes. And her skirt came out like a parachute.
Yes, right, in the river.
So what was the school like? We've got some pictures of you. The tables seem to be put outside for some reason.
I don't remember much about the school. I know, one was a petrol pump, Miss Woods.
There you are.
And the other one was the school teacher.
So we must have been educated up there, but when did we get educated down in opposite Harford Square? There was a school down there too, wasn't it? So when did we behind?
That's the one I remember because that's where that picture of us drinking milk was.
What's that?
In the school opposite Hartford House.
Behind Silver Street. Silver Street was there, yeah. So we were there. That's right, you're right. We were there.
And who was in charge of that? Can you remember?
It's Woods.
Oh, I see, the same teachers.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
They moved.
We had one teacher, Miss Woods.
Yeah.
Right.
With a big wig.
What did she look like without her wig?
Bald.
No one ever knew. Except Dorcas when she fell in the river, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was saying about our phone numbers. We were 18. I couldn't remember. Dr. Hughes was what number?
He was 14, I think.
And Exchange knew everybody where everybody was.
Yeah.
Do you remember the farriers? Were they the blacksmiths?
Yes. I remember down by the fire station.
He was opposite Hartford House.
He was.
That's right. Mm. And Spilly Garrett, he was at half.
Yes, Billy and Vanny.
That's right, Vanny.
Can you remember when they started to build Chew Valley Lake, or weren't you around for that?
Yes, I remember. I think I was at the opening. And Dad had something to do with that too.
I was only 6, so it's 56. So you would have been 7. I'm sure Dad would have been up there and doing things.
Yeah.
Because it was quite a big deal because the Queen drove through Chew Magna, the new Queen.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that.
Do you remember the big arches they made? They made 3 big arches over the road as she entered and left Chew Magna. They were decorated with vine leaves and coat of arms and stuff like that.
Yes. Now you're saying that I do remember that.
Mm. I've probably been put to bed, you know.
And Dorcas remembered just lots of cycling and freedom and not worrying about traffic.
Yes, you're right there.
I was telling how we rode a bike in Stober Cottage, up through the arch, up round the corner, hit our bikes against the door, through the garage, and going round. And I briefly told you about the well, but I couldn't remember all of it. About Dad and the well.
Yeah, something happened. Chris found the well. It was covered up and he found it. And halfway down the well, there was a tunnel going through it.
Oh, I don't know.
So Dad was looking down there to see what was what, and his wallet fell out. And they launched on a rope Chris down the well to
thought his pipe fell down as well.
Yeah. Mum asked one of us where Spider Mapston was,
Oh, yes.
and the answer came back. He's sitting in a wheelbarrow up by the greenhouse, doing his toenails with a penknife.
I remember that.
Cutting his toenails with a penknife.
So is that Spider Mapston
Yes.
in the photograph?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
brilliant.
Spider Mapston.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
His wife used to do all the cooking
Ah.
for Mum at Christmas time.
Ah. I told him about putting out the cook with the Christmas pudding with her apron on fire with the soda stream.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about that, every year Dad was given a Christmas tree
Oh.
by one of his suppliers, and it was an 18-foot tree, real candles
That's right, I remember
top
that.
to bottom.
Yeah.
So by the time he had put them all in and then lit them going down, the ones at the top had almost finished.
Yes.
And all around the base of the Christmas tree, there were soda siphons in
Yes.
case it caught fire.
Yes. They were Swiss clip-ons, weren't they? With little candles.
With real little candles
Yes.
in them, you clip them onto the branches.
Yes.
Gosh.
I remember soda streams everywhere to put everything out.
Yeah.
David, can you try and describe a young Dorcas to me? What was she like?
She didn't like me much.
Oh, I did.
You were always going to the loo.
Oh, was that? That hasn't changed. I was more friendly with Chris, wasn't I?
Yes, I was friendly with Martin.
And can you remember any adventures or any exploits you went on either with Dorcas or with your brothers?
How about when we went on that cycle ride and you all wobbling your wheel, the front wheels, because you thought it was fun? I went over the handlebars and cut my chin open.
I remember that. Yeah. But the other thing I remember, Dorky, I wonder if you can remember. Outside the playroom at the Beeches, you know, that
Where the sandpit was.
last area,
Yeah?
there was a field between us and Mrs. Gibson,
Yeah.
who we used to call Gibby.
Yeah. That's why the tennis court must have been up.
No one had ever cut it,
Yeah.
and we used to have our own sort of little hideouts in there. We used to trample the grass down. We had our own way of getting in there. We had cleared it all, so we could sit in there and not be seen.
So where was the tennis court?
I don't really remember that.
Well, on the guff for selling the Beeches, it was resurfaced tennis court. So that must have been up there.
I think they built that after we moved out.
Oh, right. Perhaps in your area that you were sitting, you were just talking about. They must have made a court then.
I'm sure they cleared that.
Yeah, made a tennis court.
Yeah, and put a tennis court in.
Do you remember the dark corridor going down to Dad's office? That frightened me as well.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
From what I've seen, it was for sale recently, well, a year ago.
Oh.
And it was on the internet. And I checked out the pictures. Yeah, you can recognize where the stairs were, where the front hall and all those flagstones
That's
were.
all I've seen.
But other than that, I couldn't really recognize much of it. The kitchen, which was enormous,
Yes.
I remember,
Vast, yes.
had an old era
Yeah?
in the roof,
Yes?
and it must have been 18-foot high ceilings.
Yeah.
And we had an enormous, great big kitchen table in the middle.
That's right.
And we used to play round the table ping pong.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, there was enough room for that.
Yes.
You know.
And the dining room was enormous, and the sitting room was enormous, wasn't it? They probably
Enormous.
yeah.
And everywhere there was a fireplace.
Yeah.
Yeah. The living room was lovely. I mean, it was
Good.
with
Yeah.
a great big fireplace. And I remember Sunday afternoons, we
Crumpet.
used to light the fire
Yeah.
and have dripping on toast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we used to cook the toast with some,
Forks. Yeah.
the things you put
Yeah.
the toast and put it against the fire, and then spread the dripping on it, which is obviously very bad for us in those days.
Well, tell me, Peter said, what happened at Christmas? Can you remember us hanging up stockings? I remember Dad's old socks. Those long knitted socks we had for stockings.
Ski socks.
Yeah, ski socks. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I won't want to go back and see it if it's, pretty spoilt inside, because it was amazing, wasn't it? The house. And I remember running around in Beach Cottage playing ping pong, and I hit the bat on the edge of the table and took out the sort of big chunk out the roof of my mouth. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
But
that.
other things about. I remember Mrs. Fenton.
Ah.
She delivered fish.
Ah, right. Fenton.
And she used to there was a little side alley up to the kitchen from the main street.
Right, that's the one you were talking about.
And she just walked up the alley every Thursday and shouted to my mum, fish.
So that must be your little black door.
There's now a black door with tradesman's entrance.
That
written
would
on
have
it.
been it, I think.
To the left of the house.
Yeah.
Now at the back there was an area we call Fig Tree Court
Oh, I've forgotten that. Yes.
with a big fig tree in the middle.
Yes, I remember the fig tree now, you'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter, do you know Chew Magna well, or?
Well, I've lived there for nearly 40 years.
Oh God.
We're just to the right of Walker's Stores.
Oh, okay.
We used to live across the road in one of a little row of cottages that's right on the front of the road. And then we moved across from number 30 to number 31.
Oh, okay. I remember at the top, up past that, was John Hill's house.
Luxmore Ball was I was trying to say.
Yeah, he was the vicar.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Luxmore Ball was the vicar. Yeah.
Yes.
And what did John Hill do?
John Hill Shipyard,
Oh, okay.
where you turn off left to go to Chewstoke,
Yeah.
at that intersection, there's a big house straight in front of you.
It's called the Rookery now.
That's where John Hill used to live,
Ah,
and he was John Hill Shipyard.
right.
wow.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
And
great.
to the right there is a tree that one of us set fire to, and it smouldered for years.
Oh dear.
Do you reckon we mix much with the children in the village?
Well, the only ones I can really remember were Fanny and Spilly
And Tessa?
and Tessa up Chew Hill. Yeah, well, Tessa King, I mean, he was the real estate guy.
Yeah.
That's right. They had big auction rooms in the end
Yeah.
near Winford.
Yeah.
Well, David, I think it's been lovely getting your memories. I think we don't want to overtire you. Is there anything else you think you can remember, you think might be of interest?
Let me just look at my list. Yeah, one thing at the top of the list here is fudge.
Ah, I told you about fudge. The car.
My mum's car broke down, and I can't remember what time. I'm a car nut. And my Uncle Robert in Scotland sent down to my mum and dad an old standard 7 or 8 that we parked in the garage in Beach Cottage. And every time mum and dad went out, I got the car out of the garage and ran it around. We had a lovely sort of, not a driveway, a flat way in Beach Cottage. And I used to get the car out. I was about 7 or 8 or I don't know.
Wow.
And one day I bent the front bumper getting it out of the garage. So I had to round the garage several times to get it back straight in case mum saw. You know, silly things like that.
Brilliant.
I remember the fish and chip van, well, by the blacksmith.
Yeah.
I think he was there every Friday night. And we used to go down for all the bits that are left over from the fries.
Huh?
Remember that, Dorky?
I can't, no.
They used to have a cinema, a projector down in the church hall. Did you ever go down there?
Yes, I remember that. Oh, there's something else on my list. Mum and Dad got a French nanny for us.
Oh.
Martin never liked her. That's my oldest brother.
Yeah.
And one day she was cleaning the windows. This is in the Beeches. She was sitting on the inside of the windowsill. So her knees were inside, she was outside, pulled the window down on her lap, and she was cleaning the outside of the windows. Martin never liked her. And one day he decided, as she was doing it, he zipped the window up and pushed her out.
Can't remember that.
And she landed backwards in a rose tree underneath. You know, she wasn't hurt, but just typical Martin prank.
I think we're pretty horrible, aren't we?
Yeah. But I do remember that Dad had some beautiful furniture
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
from Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
And he had, of course, this is now Beach Cottage.
Yeah.
But we had sort of an entrance to the house that was never developed thanks to Spider Mapston. But he had an ex-World War II rifle
Don't remember that.
in there, and we weren't allowed to touch it. We all knew where it was. But he said if ever the Germans walk up Drumway, he said, you're all gone.
Yeah.
No, he said, I'll shoot the lot of you.
I didn't know that.
That's a bit sobering.
So
Oh.
Dad said he was so... No, that's one sort of serious thing. He said, had the Germans won the war, he said they wouldn't have got us up. Because he would have done it for us.
I never knew that. Tell me, when did we get all the lovely red Virginia creeper off the Beeches? Because I've got photographs of the back covered and the front covered, but then it went to the Who or whatever, it was stripped. And even with us standing outside with the portraits when we moved, there didn't seem to be any of the vines then. When did we take off all those vines, all those leaves off?
I don't remember those. I think I remember at the back,
Yeah, they were there.
but not at the front.
So perhaps I was wrong. They were just on the back.
You've got more pictures than I've got of the beaches because you've got all Mum stuff.
Yeah. Lovely pictures of us under the beaches with Mum and Dad and everybody.
Well, David, we really want to thank you for sharing your memories.
Well, is there anything else? I'm feeling a bit better now. My cough's gone, so...
Maybe just,
What's on your list?
could you remember, just paint a picture of how you remember your mum and your dad? That would be nice.
Well, in those days, I mean, the age difference was almost, I won't say unheard of, but it was it wasn't very common. Because Dad was 22 years older than Mum.
Was it 22? I thought it was 17. Yeah, it was 22.
No, 22.
Yeah.
One thing, do you all realise what today is?
No.
It is Mum's 100th
Oh, that's right.
anniversary of her birth.
She would have been 100. That's right. God. Yes.
Dad was born in 1900.
Yes.
Mum was born 22. So she was born exactly 100 years today.
Wow. Yeah, you remember you told me a couple of days ago and I've forgotten. We're going to drink her health.
Yep.
Yeah,
Dad absolutely worshipped Mum.
he did.
Yeah.
My memory is him picking all the fruit and doing all the work and, podding everything and,
Well, I mean, he grew the biggest gooseberries,
That's about that.
and Mum used to make gooseberry fool all the time.
Yes.
And the biggest rhubarb I've ever seen. Well, Dorky, you remember all the rhubarb pots?
That's right, the tall rhubarb pots. And,
Yeah.
and all the chickens, Clara and Snowy and all of those, and the wonderful wall veg garden.
What
And
chicken Clara?
yeah, fantastic. His dad did worship her.
Past laying and absolutely useless. And they wanted to get rid of Clara or,
Yeah.
put her in a pot. And you said, no way, it's my chicken.
My chicken, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you and I got on quite well, considering.
Oh, yeah, no, the older we got, yes, we did.
Yes.
I actually think you look quite similar. Sometimes I think when Dorcas's hair is flattened down, I mistook you for each other.
When we were baby.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
Yeah, whereas Chris and Martin were the dark ones. You were blonde, weren't you? And I was blonde.
Yeah. Peter, what are you going to hopefully sort of produce out of this?
That's a good question, David. I'm just going to distill it down to stories of your mum and dad, briefly, and some memories of living in this big house in Chew Magna. So I'm just glad you've added some extra memories, because we all remember events differently.
One other thing, just a funny thing. When we sold the Beeches and moved to
Beach Cottage?
Cottage, the person who bought the Beeches then was a guy called Kenneth Jordan,
Oh yeah, I forgot that.
and he drove sort of 1950s. I'm a car nut, so a lovely Riley. And he had a boxer dog, and the first thing this boxer dog did
Yeah.
was to come into Beach Cottage and kill our Paul.
I'm glad you're saying that because I told him this.
That's quite a big memory, though.
And do you remember what happened to him?
He had a fight with Paul and killed him.
Yeah, but do you remember what happened to him after that?
I don't remember.
Well, he impaled himself on and killed himself on the railings when he tried to have another go at our next dog or whatever, and he impaled himself on the railings.
Oh, Kenneth did.
The dog.
The bulldog.
Okay.
The dog that killed Paul was later killed on our railings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He got his comeuppance.
Yes.
But this Kenneth Jordan, when he moved in, he sort of took over as squire of
Oh, yeah.
Chew Magna,
Yeah.
strutting down the church
Oh.
aisle way in the morning and sitting in the front row.
Which was ours.
And he sort of took over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lord of the Manor. But one thing came out about, I think Dennis Wheatley wrote about Dad. That Dad was the most unassuming, unpushy person you've ever met. So
Yes.
the fact that Dad Dad wouldn't have strutted his stuff and be head of, when he was in the Beeches. He was so unassuming and so, wasn't he?
Yeah. Last thing, one thing I do remember was I was in the village choir and singing Once in Royal David City to start the Christmas carol service off. And I had to walk down the thing in the middle of the church, the aisle, singing this with all the choir behind me, and I was petrified.
But you did it.
I did it. Yeah.
Well, David, thank you really very, very much. And
Well, I look forward to seeing, what comes out of all this.
You know what I like is that some of the things you said was spot on when I said to Peter, so it backs it up, doesn't it? And it was amazing, although I was a year younger than you, it just shows our memories are still very, very strong, aren't they?
It's incredible how your memories are. My memory is better 50 years ago, 60 years ago, than it is today.
I quite agree with you. Absolutely. So that says a lot of our childhood, doesn't it? Okay.
well, you're very eloquent, David. We appreciate it.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I'll give you a ring maybe tomorrow, David, and we can have another catch up. But I think that's fantastic.
And one thing, Dorky, give Peter my email,
I will. Yeah.
and if he can keep in touch with me,
No.
and just let me know developments and things to look out
I will.
YouTube or whatever,
I will. Definitely.
I'd appreciate that.
Of course I will.
That would be lovely, David. I'd enjoy that too.
Okay, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye, darling.
Good.
Good ring tomorrow.
All right, then.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
I can hear his tears there.
Good. Oh, bless him.
Good.
It's lovely that I was. A lot of the things.
There are lovely things where you said exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, yeah.
He's quite,
He'd a few other memories than you, of course, but that's you'd expect.
Well,
that.
absolutely,
But where
you're
you
right.
did share. I mean, there are a few things you'd forgotten, a few things he'd
Oh,
forgotten, but that's
definitely.
entirely natural.
Definitely.
Yeah,
There's lots of things that he
Oh, that was nice.
Finally.
Have you burnt the dinner?
No.
Did you take the duck out?
Yeah, I took the duck out.